Parkland College and the East Central Research Foundation have been conducting oat variety trials for grain millers from 2019 to 2022. The varieties compared have differed somewhat over the years. However, the first four varieties have been present in each year. CDC Arborg, CS Camden, Summit, and ORE 3542M are on grain millers' recommended list for Zone 2. CDC Endure has also been evaluated in all 4 years, but it's still under review as an acceptable variety by grain millers. Calios, CDC Sky, and AAC Douglas are also under review. AAC Congsor, CDC Ruffian are also considered acceptable varieties. Congsor was evaluated in 3 of the 4 years and was originally bred for organic production. CDC Leggett and CDC Minstrel were only compared in 2019 and are no longer mentioned on the grain millers' recommended list. Level 48, AAC Wesley, and CDC Anson were only compared in 2022. They are varieties of interest to grain millers, but are not currently mentioned on their lists. Here are grain millers' recommended milling oat varieties as of January 30th, 2023 for zones 1, 2, and 3. The list is constantly evolving with time, so make sure you have the latest information before selecting a variety to grow. In our study, environmental conditions differed substantially between years. This table shows the mean monthly temperatures and precipitation amounts for Yorkton from 2019 to 2022. Long-term averages have also been provided for comparison. 2019 was a cool year with below-average precipitation. However, soil moisture reserves were excellent, so yields were averaging 175 bushels per acre. Low levels of precipitation meant leaf disease levels were low. You can see the crop on July 25th, 2019 is looking lush. In 2020, the summer was hot and dry. Soil moisture reserves were exhausted, and yields only averaged 70 bushels per acre. In 2021, the summer was even hotter and drier. Yields only averaged 70 bushels per acre, and you can see the crop is short and is already starting to turn color by July 19th, 2021. Not looking very lush. In 2022, the summer was warm and rainfall was above average, ending the 2-year drought. Unfortunately, some of that precipitation came in the form of hail on June 23rd. The hail event was significant, but the crop still managed to produce 140 bushels per acre in the end. This is how the trial appeared one day before the hail event. Fortunately, the crop was seeded on the later side on May 24th and wasn't overly advanced. Thus, it was able to recover fairly well from the hail damage. I'm going to show you a number of tables that were all put together in a similar fashion. For each year, the varieties are listed from highest to lowest for the parameter being measured. This table shows the lodging ratings for 2021 and 2019. I haven't bothered to show all years because lodging was negligible for the years not shown. In this study, lodging was never severe enough for any variety to have a substantial impact on yield. However, there are some significant differences between varieties. A rating of 0 means the crop was standing straight and tall. A rating of 9 means the crop was flat to the ground like a pancake. In 2019, CDC Leggett and CDC Ruffian lodged significantly more than the other varieties. CDC Leggett is only rated as having good resistance to lodging based on regional trial information. In 2021, Summit lodged significantly more than all other varieties. Again, Summit only has a good rating for lodging resistance. Here is the yield data for the varieties grown in each year. As mentioned earlier, CDC Arborg, CS Camden, Summit, and ORE 3542M were grown in every year, and all these varieties are on the recommended list for grain millers for Zone 2. Remember, in each year, all these varieties are listed from highest to lowest yielding. I've color-coded the varieties so you can quickly determine their rankings relative to each other. If you take these varieties for each year and turn their yields into a percent relative to CS Camden as a check, then average them over the years, you will find CDC Arborg comes out as being the highest yielding variety and ORE 3542M was the lowest yielding variety. This is pretty similar to the information you will find in regional data. However, if you look at their relative rankings by year, CDC Arborg certainly did not yield the most, nor was ORE 3542M always the lowest yielding variety. The relative yield potential between varieties varied a lot between years. Between 2019 and 2020, CDC Arborg and ORE 3542M have completely changed their relative rankings. Here is the data for the test weights. Again, varieties with the highest test weights are at the top within each year. Test weights which fall below 245 grams per half a liter are subject to discounts, and test weights below 230 grams per half a liter might be rejected for milling. Test weights were good in every year except 2021. You might initially think the test weights were reduced by a drought in 2021. However, you will recall 2020 also had a drought and test weights are very high for that year. So I have no idea whether low or high test weights would be expected during drought. Excepting 2019, Summit usually had the highest test weight and C.S. Camden the lowest for varieties on grain millers' recommended list. This is well supported by past research and information provided by the regional variety trials. Here are the relative maturity ratings of the varieties on the recommended list. Differences in maturity were small, even between varieties with long and medium maturity ratings. They were also inconsistent between years. For varieties of interest to grain millers, CDC Anson and AAC Wesley were the highest yielding varieties during the hail year of 2022. They were also shorter varieties, with Anson being the shortest variety of all. Any added lodging resistance due to short stature could not be determined, as lodging was not a big issue for 2022. On the negative side, CDC Anson had the second lowest test weight. However, C.S. Camden has been a very popular variety with grain millers, and despite its notoriously low test weights in our studies, this does not seem to be proving to be much of an issue for growers. Level 48 was another variety of interest for grain millers in 2022. But it ended up being the lowest yielding variety in our study. It also had a relatively low test weight. AAC Consor, which is an acceptable variety for grain millers, has been evaluated over the last 3 years. From our studies, it appears to be a lower yielding variety, but it has high test weights. Conclusions. Of the varieties on grain millers' recommended lists, CDC Arborg was highest yielding on average, but not consistently higher for every year. Summit usually had the highest test weights, but was more prone to lodging. Camden usually had the lowest test weights, but this isn't proving to be a problem for growers. ORE 3542M was often lower yielding, but it has resistance to crown rust. Of the varieties of interest for grain millers in 2022, Wesley was the highest yielding with high test weights, and Anson was also high yielding, but it had low test weight. Level 42 was low yielding and had low test weight. Like I mentioned earlier, Wesley and Anson are not currently on grain millers' recommended list, but they are varieties to watch. Wesley won't be available to producers until 2024 and Anson until 2025. Again, thanks to grain millers for supporting these trials.